we would take anicca and anatta, the impermanence of things and the non-fixed nature of the self, as facets of sunyata, or emptiness. And living into an embodied sense of what emptiness is would be considered the highest wisdom. And in our practice tonight, we repeated the phrases, not me, not mine, not a problem, and not me, not mine, and not what I think it is. And if we work backwards from not what I think it is, that stance is always true. That always works. There is no situation in which you experience a thing, whether it's a thing that appears to be outside your body, like an apple, or something that you experience internally, like a thought or a feeling. There is no way to regard any of those things in a way that retains their entire ineffable selfness of self. So anytime you think about an apple, you are working with the thought itself and not the apple. Anytime you become aware of a thought or a feeling, anything internal, the awareness itself is distorted or colored by the view that holds that there is a self to whom this is happening, or there is a self to whom this phenomena belongs, right? This is happening to me. This is something I'm feeling, something I'm thinking. There is always an I in that picture, and it's very, very difficult to get rid of that. And so we practice with the phrases, not me and not mine, as a means of loosening the hold, to soften that, to relax. We start with not me, not mine, not a problem, because often a lot of aversion will come up in meditation, especially in early practice. A lot of self-judgment can come up. Thoughts and feelings are often not particularly kind. And so we can allow those phenomena to arise and happen and then pass away without taking ownership. And in the process of releasing and relaxing the mind, and particularly in the process of releasing and relaxing any sense that these are things that I own, things that I am generating, things that I need to respond to, we downregulate all of the machinery that creates I. All of that misappropriation slows down. And it doesn't actually require tremendous meditative achievement to get there. You can get lost in thought, you can come back, you can feel agitated or irritable and squirm around in your seat and come back. And each time we repeat those phrases, and each time we reflect on not me, not mine, we loosen that up just a little bit. And sometimes, depending on where you're at, sometimes it's possible to loosen that up a lot. And very typically, the loosening of the constraints, the diminishment of the sense of I, is accompanied by diminishing of sense generally. That we are actually seeing and feeling and thinking less. And so that sort of 1-2 punch of diminishing thoughts and feelings, but specifically diminishing the assumption that anything is happening specifically to me or at me, or somehow that I am generating, all reduces the sense that there's an I behind what's going on. And typically, reducing that sense of self is fleeting. It comes right back. But it tends to be accompanied by a sense of release, of relaxation. And very often, though not always, just a little bit more ease and well-being than there is when it's there. Okay, I think I'll stop there for the moment and ask for any reports or questions, thoughts. Hi Shannon.
Hi.
Hi. How did the statements go for you, Shannon?
I really I like it. I kind of I like the breathing kind of exercises for some an area to fall back on.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just been kind of reading what or listening to audiobooks on meditation, and just it's kind of like a self, like at your own pace, kind of figuring out your journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I came to needing more meditation or more calmness because I had quite a few moments of awareness where I knew I was being very tense just in my day-to-day life, and that was really kind of stopping me from just kind of living, being
Mm-hmm.
in the present, because I will hold on to things that feel like duty or responsibilities. And once I feel that it's there, I hold on very strongly to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to build up more of a ability to defend against those feelings, or maybe not defend against is the right word, but more like allowing it to have like exist. But I still like I don't feel like I can't move or I can't move forward at all anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I know now that I know, especially in the last couple, just through my reflection, especially lately, I know I'm a person with a very strong sense of responsibility, and that's something that is hard for me to let go. But because I also know that this is something that if I can work on has the benefit of for other people as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because the moment try to be in control too often, I also diminish other people's ability to, kind of step in and kind of have some kind of, together like community or unit that we are all part of.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So I'm curious what would happen if you lost control.
Nothing serious will happen. I'm in a pretty secure place. I have a lot of safeguards in terms of like material needs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not at a very low point financially. Suppose I'm in a very middle place in
Mm-hmm.
life. But if I lose control, I feel like I will feel embarrassed, and I feel like I don't know how to act in front of other people. But the thing is, I don't know. Those are the type of thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kind of normal to have.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you this then. If responsibility was made up of other things, and I would suggest that it is, what might it be made up of?
It's being responsibility is made out of taking action, putting careful thought and consideration, and just thinking a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of planning ahead.
Mm-hmm. All right. So
Yeah.
your actions have consequences. Okay. Good. Good. Bill, are you there?
Oh yeah.
How you doing?
Good. That was a tough one for me to sit with. It was very focused, like, I don't want to say uncomfortably focused, just new razor uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like good shape, just
We're-
new razor uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like when you were doing the spot inside of your look at, and it was cool because the answer was looking bottom up and top down, because I could see it from top down, but it was the edge of my sinuses, and holy. And then you switch to the energy underneath of my hands, and I mean, it was almost too powerful. In fact, it was. I had to reposition my hands. So I mean, it was very challenging for me to not. I would have much. If I would have known what it would have wound up being, I would have done it laying down.
Okay.
But it was so pointed for me. It was very, very challenging.
Okay.
Good challenging, not ugly, but
I hope not.
challenging.
Okay. So I hope you'll both see how individual the response is to the exact same thing, right? That the meditation that you guys heard was identical, and you've each got your own response to it. And so while we typically do these things as though everyone should have kind of a similar response, there's actually no reason to believe that's true at all. And it's one of the reasons I shifted into inquiry a little bit, and tonight's I didn't actually go that heavy into the inquiry, but the part where we ask, if it's not mine, if it's not me, then what is it, right? Or the inquiry into, is it possible to release this sense of me and mine? And if it is, then where does sensation go? Where does that happen? Who or what does it happen to? And I guess that I would suggest at this point that if you clap your hand, or if you present some kind of sensation that you can refer to as being fairly discrete, it's really easy, really way too easy to say that that feeling is happening to me, right? It's happening to my body. And if you start to hollow that out a little bit, or soften it around the edges, and just say, the sensation is happening to awareness, or it's happening inside awareness, or awareness is aware of sensation, it begins to take the I out of the picture a little bit. It begins to take me and selfing, and some of the delusion just falls away automatically. But it also has it has a tendency to downregulate anxiety generally. Okay, that when we're not trying, and this is supposing a lot here, but when we are not trying to continually fabricate a sense of self, there is relaxation that gets to happen. And when the self is less present, there is a bunch of make-believe that we don't have to keep propping up. And when we don't keep propping up the make-believe, Shannon, we have a lot more access to whatever bare experience is there, right? So we tend to live in a thicket of constructs. We tend to live in a thicket of ideas, and we tend to get lost there. You know, there's something called papancha, which is the proliferation of ideas. And so in the very sort of, in a raw sense of raw experience, it's possible to hear a sound like the bell and not have the mind say bell or sound. Okay? And when we stop saying bell and we stop saying sound and just hear the sound, we also stop saying me. We also stop saying mine. And that construct, that thicket of ideas and views is just attenuated a little bit. And that tends to be comforting. It tends to be inherently rewarding. This practice is most useful and most accessible and easiest when we have some kind of distress. And just from hearing what the two of you have said, it sounds like Bill is probably not having more distress until we got into the meditation. And possibly for Shannon, that you have a little bit of a sense of responsibility, and the responsibility comes with a little distress. It's built in. There's some tension there. And so repeating the phrases, not me, not mine, not a problem, is most usable, most accessible in your day-to-day when you're up against something you don't like. Okay, when you're up against a feeling you don't like. So whatever that is, whether it's coming from inside or outside, you just take a breath, you say, that's not me, that's not mine, and it's not a problem. And I don't know, 90% of the time, it's not. It just goes away. The next thing happens. And very often the next thing is a lot more pleasant, a lot more rewarding, something that you actually want. And in that case, we say, not me, not mine, not what I think it is. Right? And we're just loosening this constricted sense of self. That is what I have for you this evening. I strongly recommend repeating those phrases out in the world. You've got a week to do it in, and see what happens. See what happens. Anytime you have any kind of strong proliferation of thought, or anytime you have any kind of strong proliferation of feelings, God, that's hard to say. Just pause. That's not me. That's not mine. And it's not a problem. And that's it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Does my sound? Got it. Yeah, that's all. Any other questions or reports, Shannon?
Thank you. You have this as a meetup?
I thought it was, but I'm not absolutely positive it is. I think somebody set me up as an administrator on a Meetup account, but I don't know that this is actually listed on there, so I think that's worthwhile to go check out. So, is that what you're asking?
No, I mean,
No.
just, I'll look out for the next one if there is one.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah, so every Thursday at 5:30 Pacific time, this is what we do. And the class tends to be fairly small, so we get a lot of chance to have some back and forth.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
You have a good day.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Okay, bye-bye.